Hey friend, welcome back to Christian Podcasting Secrets. I'm your host, Tammy Munson, and today we are talking about something very important for every single podcaster out there, and that is workflow and organization. Now, let's be real, okay? Sometimes podcasting can kind of feel like a hot mess, but when you are organized and have workflows in place, your podcast can go from chaotic to smooth sailing. Now, trust me, this is going to change the way that you manage your podcast. Whether you are a solo podcaster or you work with a team. So grab your notebook or maybe open up that Notes app and let's dive into why workflows matter and how you can make them work for you. Juggling a podcast along with all of the other things can get overwhelming fast. Sometimes even with a team working on various projects, doing different things, the responsibility of recording this show, writing the outline, falls on me. And without some structure and some organization, it's super easy to get lost in the details and spend hours on one particular task. But having an organized system will help you stay on track, and it reduces the stress of creating, recording, writing, managing your podcast. Because when you have a clear plan for each step of the podcasting process, you don't waste time trying to figure out what to do next or feel like you're scrambling at the last minute for what am I going to cover on this week's show. So an organized workflow allows you to be consistent with your episodes. Now, I know there's that word again, right? And that's because it's the name of the game. As we have talked about many times on this show, consistency builds trust with your audience. And it's the thing that's going to keep them coming back, especially if they know when to expect your content. Every Thursday, you're going to put an episode up. Every other Thursday, the first Monday, whatever the frequency is, they're going to know of when to expect that show or when to expect your next episode. The other thing, it frees up your creative energy to focus on making amazing content rather than dealing with the chaos that sometimes comes with podcasting. Now, a workflow. You might be wondering, Tammy, why in the world do I need a workflow? It's just me. And I'm glad you asked because everybody can benefit from having a workflow. So if you're not familiar with a workflow, it's simply a series of steps that you follow to complete a task or a project. In our case, producing a podcast episode. When I'm talking with clients and we get into the workflow part of things and we're devising what their workflow looks like, I like to have them think about it as like a checklist, and I want you to do the same thing. It's just a clear guide that takes you through every step, every phase of your podcast production, from planning your topic to publishing your episode and everything in between. And this workflow ensures you're not going to skip any important steps, and it's going to keep things moving smoothly. So workflows aren't just for big teams, although they are certainly utilized in teams. So whether you are a one-woman show and you're doing all the things and wearing all the hats, or maybe you have a virtual assistant, creating a solid workflow saves you time and prevents that dreaded feeling of overwhelm. And we've all kind of been there. We've talked about it several times on this show, the overwhelm that comes with being a podcaster. And we want to make the podcast production process easier and more efficient because our goal here is to work smarter, not harder, right? So what exactly does a podcast workflow look like? What I did, I created a free download for you It will be in the show notes. So make sure to access the show notes on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast at. It'll also be available on our website, which is wildfirecreativecompany.com. There's essentially 7 steps. First is you're going to brainstorm your episode ideas. What are your key points? What is that episode going to look like? Then you're going to write your outline. Maybe you are writing out your whole script. If that's what you choose to do, then that's fine. Whatever works for you is what I want you to do. Step 3, you're going to record your episode. Whether you're recording in GarageBand, you're recording on Riverside or Zencaster. Of course, the next step is always editing. You're going to edit your show, whether you are doing it yourself or you're having a team member do it. Then you're going to create your show notes. This includes social media as well. You're going to schedule and publish your episode, finish your show notes, any other promotional pieces that involve social media. Maybe you need to make a video, maybe you need to make a reel, and then you're going to promote on social media, email, etc. Now, each step is very clear and laid out. You know exactly what needs to happen. There is no more guessing of what you need to do. And you have a workflow like this is you are going to just rinse and repeat for each and every episode, and then it's just going to become second nature. You're going to develop that muscle memory. Now, you can take these 7 steps and you can break them down to whatever you need. And I really do want you to customize them to what you need. This is basically the essential steps. How you choose to do it from this point forward, I want you to customize it to make it work for you. Now, we have a workflow. Great. Every podcaster's process is going to be a little bit different. We have different responsibilities, recording in different situations. Maybe you do your show with a co-host. Maybe it's a panel. Maybe you're doing storytelling. Whatever the process is, I want you to make it your own. Make sure that it's customized to fit your needs. So when you're crafting this, you want to start by listing out all the steps that you need to take from an idea to publishing on whatever hosting platform that you are using. You need to break it down into small, actionable tasks, those small wins that we are always talking about. So, for example, instead of just saying, edit my episode, you could break it down further by saying, trim audio, add introduction music, adjust sound levels. The more specific you are in your workflow, the better. Then next, you want to look at what tools and what systems you can use to help keep track of your workflow. So whether maybe it's a Google Doc, maybe it's just a good old paper and pen, or maybe you're using something a little bit more advanced. Now, my personal favorite is ClickUp, and we'll talk more about ClickUp in just a moment. But I want you to find a system that works for you, the way your brain works, and I want you to stick with it. One of the things I encourage all my clients, and I'm also encouraging each and every one of you, is batch your episodes. So if you've got several episodes to produce, I want you to batch that by focusing on one task for multiple episodes all at once. You are going to record 2 episodes this weekend, or editing all of your episodes that you have for the month on the same day. And by doing this, it saves you so much time. So let's say you only have 2 hours a week to work on your podcast. Week 1, 2 hours, craft those episodes. What are you going to talk about? Create that outline. Week 2, you're going to record that, whatever that looks like. Week 3, you're going to edit, and so on and so forth. Then by the time that you're done, you have 4 episodes or however many episodes ready to go. And you're not trying to struggle week to week to find the 2 hours to get that done. Like I said, huge time saver. In Proverbs chapter 21, verse 5, it says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty." Because being diligent and planning your workflow will help you produce better content without feeling rushed or overwhelmed or any of the other things that tend to pop up when we're trying to do too much with too little time. Now, let's get to the fun part, at least the fun part for me, and that's tools and resources. Y'all know I love some good tech, and I love a good productivity tool. And there are so many different resources out there that can help you stay organized and streamline your podcast workflow. Earlier, I mentioned a project management system called ClickUp. Now, ClickUp is similar to other ones that are out there like Asana or Basecamp or Trello or any of those. And these are really great for creating visual workflows and keeping track of all the minutia. Like I said, I personally love ClickUp. Our team uses ClickUp. The majority of our clients use ClickUp. And it's a way to lay it out visually so we can look at the task list and go, okay, we know all the steps that we need to do in order to publish this episode. We create a board essentially for each episode and move tasks along as they become completed. We check things off. It can send reminders out. It is a digital to-do list with all the steps laid out and reminders. Because if you are like me and have ADD brain, or you forget a lot of things, or you're struggling with brain fog or any of those kinds of things like I struggle with on a daily basis, having a digital tool like ClickUp sends me reminders like, Tammy, don't forget to do this. I'm like, oh, I got to go do that thing. The other thing, Google Drive or Box. So everybody knows what Google Drive is. It's a place to keep all of your digital files. We use a system called Box. I like it a little bit better. It's got a little bit more security features. Plus, you can get a lot more for your money. Now, this could be like Dropbox, Google Drive. It's just a place for you to keep your files organized. Whether it's episode scripts or the audio files or the video files or even the promotional material that you are creating for social media or your email list, having everything stored and labeled properly will save you time from searching through endless folders. Well, I think I put it in that folder, but I can't find it because it's not there. Where if everything is organized and labeled properly, you know you just need to go into episode 112, open up the audio file folder, and the audio file that you need to edit is right there. Now, if you're using something like Riverside to record your episodes or even Zencaster, it's also going to have that capability of a little of organization for all of your files. Now, another key resource that we utilize is Canva. And we use that for creating graphics and social media posts that we're going to need to promote the episode and the content within those episodes. I'm sure everybody in the world knows what Canva is and how user-friendly it is. But one of the things we like to do is, so for like our cover art, we do cover art for each and every episode. Well, all we did was went ahead and created 8 or 9 different templates that all we got to do is change the picture and the title, and the hard work is already done. And that's going to make your marketing workflow quicker and easier. The most important part about this is it creates the consistency. Now, we talked a little bit about earlier. How do you keep your show running smoothly week after week? How do you stay consistent? You need to make it a habit that you're going to follow your workflow every single time, every week, every other week, whatever that looks like for you. And it may feel tedious. And if you are like me and you're like, don't tell me what to do, you're going to feel like this is silly and this is dumb and I don't want to do this. But it is going to make your life so much easier. And you just have to stick to it. It's like muscle memory. Once it's part of your routine, then you don't even really have to think about it. And I just want to say, as you are beginning to use this workflow, not everything's going to work perfectly. You're going to see places, oh, I'm missing something here. It didn't go as smoothly as I wanted it to. And that's okay. It's okay if things don't go perfectly. We're all human and life happens. And we just have to go, okay, we're missing a step here. But the important thing is to have that system that brings you back on track when things get busy or chaotic. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9 reminds us, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. I want you to keep going. I want you to stay diligent, and I want you to trust that your hard work will pay off. Whether that's just getting an episode out every Thursday, growing your audience, or just feeling less stressed of producing a podcast. The power of the workflow is real, y'all. Because when you take the time to get organized and you put a solid workflow in place that is going to work for you, podcast production becomes so much easier and so less stressful. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. So don't make it perfect. You get to see what works and what doesn't work. But most importantly, stick with it. Podcasting is a long-term game. You're not going to have success immediately. Maybe some people will. But the majority of people who start podcasts are not going to have success right out of the gate. Now, of course, that depends on what your definition of success actually is. But you're not going to see 100,000 downloads on episode 3. But I want you to stick with it, because once you find a system that works, you will see success with it. I guarantee it, because you're going to be consistent in all things. So thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, I would be so grateful if you would sign up for our monthly newsletter. Every month, I send out a newsletter filled with tips and tricks and all the podcast episodes that I'm loving, as well as things that are going on in the podcast industry, because there's something that is always changing in this industry. Even after 20 years, there's something that's always new, upcoming. Hosting companies change. Things are happening each and every day. I mean, you're seeing political candidates do podcast episodes. Never in a million years would I thought I would ever see that. But alas, here we are. And I also want to throw this out there. If you found a workflow hack that has worked for you, I want to hear about it. Share that with me over on Instagram. I would love to hear what's keeping you organized. You can DM me at Wildfire Creative Co. Or feel free to email me at Tammy, Tammy, at wildfirecreativecompany.com. So that's all I have for you for this week. Until next time, my friends, keep your eyes on Jesus. Keep creating amazing content. And most of all, remember, you've got this. Have a great week. I'll talk to you real soon. Bye, y'all.